Hey everyone, it's Drew here at Card of My Eye, and today I am doing another layout from start to finish. I am actually scrapping around this photo here. This is just a picture of my old Boy Scout troop from quite a while ago, probably 5 to 8 years ago. I cannot exactly remember the date on that photo, but I want to share with you the products that I used before we go into the fast forwarding part. I'm going to go through these pretty quick, so let's get started. I have a couple of mists here, 2 from Mr. Huey's and 2 from Mr. Huey's by Studio Calico and 2 from the Chalkboard Collection by Tattered Angels in Teal High Heel Chalkboard and Custard and Bonnie Blue. So I have those 4 inks. I also am going to be doing a lot of spraying, like masking on this layout. I thought it'd be fun since this week's theme kind of has been misting, if you have noticed, basically, if you guys want to subscribe to my videos, click above, and I'm going to do, I do videos Monday through Friday, in case you're brand new. And so, basically, this week's theme we've been going off of, and sorry about the writing in my hand, I was just writing. This week's theme we've been going off of is misting, so I'm going to be using this sort of doily craft die cut by Maya Road. And I have 2 misting screens or masks here from Prima, and there's this shape here, which is sort of a fun shape. I hope you could see that. And then I have this shape here, which is sort of the opposite side of this one. And I have a piece of fabric. This is from the Origins collection by Moda, which is a basic gray collection from a while back. It's just one of the little fabric squares. And I have a couple trinkets here. I have a Miss Caroline die cut, a buttons and badges little camera looking flare badge, and a vintage ticket, and some red washi tape, which I'll probably add a couple other colors of washi tape towards the end. And as far as alphabet stickers go, I have 2 alphabet sets here, one from October Afternoon from their mini market set called Yellow and Black, and I have the chipboard elf stickers, which is a silver with sort of a whitish looking diamond pattern in it, and this is one of my favorite fonts. I think it's called Oswald. I use it quite a bit in graphic designing. And then I am going to do some stamping as well. I have this stamp set from Tattered Angels and Heidi Swap, and I think this is called Rockin' Renaissance, and it has these great pattern textiles, like some scripts and some crackles and some sort of grid pattern. So I have that, and I also grabbed some Memento ink to go with it. This is in the color Rich Cocoa. And lastly, I have our papers and stickers. I'm going to go over stickers first. I have a Studio Calico teal label sticker set, and a couple of the Stella and Rose Gertie. Stella and Rose, these are from the 4 different ones, like the Hazel and the Gertie sets, so I have a couple different sticker labels in there. And lastly, the papers. I have this scrapped piece, which is from the Cosmo Cricket Salt Air collection called Half Shell. And it looks like this side and that. I thought the yellow was pretty. And I have a piece of Neapolitan vellum. You can see the pattern on here. It's a cloud pattern. This is called Silver Lining Cloud. And then we have a small piece from the Neapolitan collection again. This is the little wood grain chevron piece that I just have a scrap of. And I have some My Mind's Eye on the Bright Side paper, and it has a really pretty chevron and a blue, really great wood texture in the background. And I have this stripe pattern, which is from My Mind's Eye Miss Caroline, and the backside has a wood pattern or a wood grain texture. And then for the background, I'm actually going to be using this green side, but this is from the This and That by Echo Park collection by Lori Whitlock, and it is pink on one side, and it has this green on the other side, which has sort of a bit of distressing in there. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that. But I'm going to be using this for my background paper. And I think that is all, you guys. I'm going to be scrapping backwards today, which I've done on quite a few of my other from start to finish videos. I just find it's easier to edit the video and such, so we will see. I'm going to be scrapping just like this, and I think that's all. So let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm back, and I am starting off with a piece of craft cardstock, which I'm going to be matting this photo on top of. As you can see there, I'm just using a 4x6 photo that I showed earlier, and I'm matting it on some excess craft cardstock, and I am putting it on this green colored background. It doesn't look too green, it does there, but it didn't before. And I am using a Prima mask, and I'm using some tangerine-colored Mr. Huey's ink. I think that, I don't even remember the name right now. I said it at the beginning of the video, though. but then I'm doing a voiceover, and I'm using some more of it, and I just love, isn't that just so neat how that all comes together like that? I think it's really, really cool. And I am just using a variety of mists. I'm using the Bonnie Blue, and then I'm using that orange color, and just spraying everywhere to make sure that my photo will fit. And I'm actually cutting a little piece of this paper, which I decide not to use later on. I keep it here for quite a while, and then I actually decide that I don't really like the way it looks. But in case you're curious, I'm inking the edges with my Bundled Twigs Distressing Ink by Tim Holtz with a ink tool. And then I am using this stamp, the Rock and Renaissance stamp, and a stamp block with some of that Memento ink, and I'm just stamping a couple of crackles here and there. And I'm making sure to stamp off because you'll get a sort of variation of brown like hues and tones, which is quite nice in the crackle. And so that's basically what happened. And then I decide to actually come in with this die cut that I wanted to use. And I knew I wanted to incorporate this somehow. So I decided to start to layer a couple different of the papers, which I showed at the beginning, and I'm actually taking this this label sticker, and I'm backing it with craft cardstock, and I'm going to leave a little bit of border when I cut it out, as you can see there. And I'm going to be using this sort of as an additional piece of paper. I didn't want it to have stickiness on the back because I probably wouldn't have been able to place it in my exact spot, so I wanted to be able to move it around before I actually had it stuck where it needed to be stuck. And then I took my photo and I added it on top of that wood grain paper, and I added it at a slant, and I probably should have cut it first because I did some weird cutting thingy, but it worked out, but you can see there's just little pieces sticking out here and there. And then I am using a craft doily, and I was going to use that to use it sort of as a mask, but I decided just to use it as an actual embellishment, and I used a McGill Star punch, and I punched out some of that really fun paper from the Salt Air collection. I'm just stapling that doily in place, that way I don't have to add adhesive on it. And I am inking the edges of all my papers and just starting to basically arrange them where I want and sticking the papers down onto the project. And I decided to sort of overlap it in the ending, that little label sticker. And then I added on the Studio Calico label sticker, and I'm inking the edge of the star die cut, which I punched out with that McGill Craft punch. And I just checked my washi tapes just to see if there was any I wanted, and I decided I am going to add a couple strips. I added this sort of tannish with a slight white polka dot on it, and then this really pretty blue grid pattern, which is sort of looks like a ledger. And it's nice because I was actually able to flip it up, which I kind of liked because it allowed me to add stuff underneath before I actually wanted to adhere it. So I've been doing this quite lately, where I just cut off a bunch of baker's twine and just crumble it up and just add it as a layer, and I think that looks so neat like that. And to adhere it down, I'm actually just using some washi tape, and because I have so much of this washi tape on this roll, I'm using this specific one. And then I'm using a bit of yellow because it just popped out of the bottom there. And I think that looks so awesome with the little bit of the twine just sort of like coiling underneath it, which is quite fun. And then I used this little bit of transparency, which I got from Rev over at revli.typepad.com, and I'm just cutting a little piece of it and punching it and just adding it as a little decorative element. Totally love the way this is turning out. And then I decided to add two little labels just as two little more like layers underneath, so it looks like it's layered more. And then I'm going to add my title. So the title is actually from the Elf font stickers from, what is it, American Crafts. And then I decided to use a technique I found where you just place it on your grid mat, a piece of transparency, and you could actually put your stickers right on the edge of that transparency where you could still lift it up and they'll stick. But you could use your grid mat as a perfect line to line up your letters to exactly where you want them to be. So as you can see, I'm just sticking my letters on the top of this transparency sheet, and it just allows me to line my letters and get them all set before I actually stick them down on my project. So I make sure they're all stuck, and then I pull it off, and then I go ahead and readjust the camera really quick, and I'm going to just stick them down, and you just place it where you want. Make sure to tap all of those stickers, and you pull the transparency out from underneath. And that is how easy that is. I think that's such a neat technique to use. And then to fill in that little area on the left, I added a vintage 15-cent ticket, and then a little Instagram-looking image or little camera flare button type thing. And now I am taking some of that fabric from the beginning. I really wanted to incorporate, so I made a little bit of a ruffle, and then I go in and I just cut the ruffle, and I decide where I want to place it, and so I just sort of mess around with it a little bit until I finally find a place. I wasn't sure if I was actually going to use it at that point, but I decided to just go with it and staple it right on. And now I am going to go in with the mini market stickers from October Afternoon, and I'm just layering them on my finger rather than on the paper, and then I'm going to stick them down so I know that they're perfectly layered and I don't have to pull them up and chance ripping off some of the photo or some of the embellishment underneath. And I'm just adding the word with, and then I'm going to add the word friends. So it's titled Cub Scouts with Friends, and then it is going to have the friends in the bottom left. And I find that die cut where it says #1 best of the best, it's just a great little quote that sort of goes with the Boy Scout, Cub Scout theme that I have here. And then I am going to go ahead and add some of my journaling. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to journal directly on the page, and so I actually decided just to go ahead and add a journaling spot. And I just placed it on some scrap pattern paper and cut it out. That way I was able to maneuver it around before I actually had to stick it down in a spot. And I just stuck it underneath that word friends over on that left side there. Sorry, it's backwards. I have to journal the correct way. I can't write upside down. So I decided just to stick it there, and I just journaled on top of it pretty quickly with my smash pen, and then I stapled it in place a couple of times. As you can see, I love using staples. It's probably one of my top 5 most used tools that I have. And then I needed to have something in between that journaling spot and the photo. There was just that like blank space, and it just needed something. So I decided to add this Love It washi piece of washi tape, which totally filled in the blank, and I love the way the overlay looks on top of it. It's sort of like a grid pattern. And I was gonna add a butterfly, but I was like, no, I'm not adding a butterfly. And I took my favorite McGill tab punch, which I got at Michael's on sale for like $2.99, normally $29.99. And I punched out the wood grain paper just to add a bit more of that wood grain pattern, and I just stapled it a couple of times. And then I felt like it still needed just a little bit more of something, so I went in and added some splattering, which I did a whole technique video on splattering if you want to check out my channel, teaching you how to splatter your inks. And I added some splatter, which I totally love, and then I needed something to ground the layout, so I cut out 2 strips of pattern, or actually 4 strips total, 3 strips total of pattern paper, 1 piece of washi tape, which you will see. So I basically used some of the vellum paper from the American Crafts Dear Lizzy vellum sheet, and then I used a small strip of this leftover pattern paper from the Salt Air collection. As you can see, I've totally used up this scrap in this video. I used it quite a few times, and I just added that strip to the very top of the layout, as you can see there. And then I'm adding, actually I was going to add a piece of this strip to the bottom again, but I thought it was just too much yellow, so I wanted to break it up with a bit of a line, and I think the line looks great. I was going to add that wood grain pattern at first, but I felt it was too gray, and then that line just looks perfect on the bottom there. So I added the line with about a 1/16 of an inch space in between the edge of the layout and that piece of, that strip of lined paper, and then I added a cream washi tape, which has sort of a light diagonal line in it. And that was a layout, you guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch y'all next time. Bye, everyone.